Hi everyone, it's Erin from EB Mixed Media, and I am going to work today on covering my Ranger Kraft journal. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do, but I do think I want to put some flowers on it, and I thought I might make some flowers for it. I want to maintain some of the craft showing through because it's a craft journal, but as you can see, I'm a pretty sloppy artist, and so it has gotten quite mucked up. So that could be a challenge, to try and let some of the craft show through without all of this stuff. So that is my plan for today. That's about all I have in my mind right now. So let's get started. So I'm gonna make some florals for the cover of my journal, and I've really been inspired by my garden, and so I'm thinking I want to make some daisies. And I have a few I made earlier. This is one I kept a stem on, and here's one I didn't. I'm debating about whether I want to draw the stem on the page or have the stem in my floral. And then I also made one on some craft paper. And I'm not sure which ones I want to use, but I'm gonna just make a few of those and we'll see which ones we like the best. So I am going to be using, excuse me, just a basic watercolor paper today. This is a 90-pound weight Artist Loft, which comes from Michael's. It's their store brand. It's very inexpensive. So I'm going to take a piece of that. The other thing I'm working with today is my Brushmaker Pro, Karen Brushmaker Pro watercolor markers. I love playing with these. I've made another video before on my YouTube channel where I made some florals using these with stencils. And this is a watercolor brush, I guess you call it. It's the barrel is, you load the barrel with water and then it has a brush tip. So I'm going to be using that. These are great for when you're traveling. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to start with making a kind of oval for my first daisy, for the center of my first daisy. This color is called Pale Orange. And then I have another one called Henna, and I'm going to use that. It's got a little bit of a red cast to it. And I'm going to use that to give us some shading on our center of our floral. And then use the paintbrush to, or the watercolor brush, to sort of blend those together. And you can add a little more color when it's wet and watch it kind of bleed in, which is kind of cool. Give this a little more rounded feel to the bottom here. And it doesn't have to be perfect in any way. So next I'm going to take this almond color and I'm just going to do a few little kind of sunbursts coming out from the center here. So my daisies aren't going to be pure white. We're going to give them just a tiny bit of color to kind of pop on the page. And we'll take our watercolor brush and just sort of pull that color out a bit, blending it. Let's make our petals now. And these are going to be pretty rustic petals. And some are going to be shorter than the others. That sort of gives you the a sense of depth on that back side. And some are going to be longer. Some are going to be fatter. There's no sense in getting stressed out trying to make uniform petals. Some can be overlapping each other. You can give them a little bend. That one was particularly wonky. I think my hand is shaking. I had too much coffee today, maybe. There. Now I'm going to go back in and circle my centerpiece here. Okay. And once it's completely dry, I'm going to stipple. I don't know if you took science or biology in school. Stippling is just making dots as a way to fill in a page. And when we used to use a microscope and look at cells and things, and then we would have to draw them in our lab books, and you would stipple. And then I had a roommate in college, and she just drove me crazy when we'd be studying together, because she would be over there at her desk stippling, and I'd be trying to read something or memorize something. And you can even bring some of it into the other part there. Okay, now we're going to just put a few accents here on the petals. And then even at the ends, just a little line at the ends as well. Maybe not even on every one of them. Okay. That's our first one, and I'm not really liking this, so I'm gonna add another one back here to sort of, I don't know, explain that. Did I just make it worse? I might have. There. So there's our kind of rustic daisy. And I'm not going to draw a stem because I'm thinking I might want to draw this stem actually on the page. Okay, let's do another one. Let's make a flower on the Kraft as well. It's the same process. Now, because it's craft paper, it's not gonna hold the water that well. So it will take the paint, or take the water a little bit differently. Than the watercolor paper would. So I'm not even going to go over that with my watercolor brush. I'm just going to go straight in, and I'm not going to add any additional color on this one. So let's take a quick look at these. Unlike other times when I cut out flowers, I did not leave much white around the edges. These aren't perfect, but I tried to get as close to the edge as I could. So I did not leave any outline of white around the edges of the flowers. And that's because I want them to sort of look as if they were drawn onto the page. Now, onto the cover. Interesting. I'm wondering, oh, that might actually work like that. So I want to start by putting down just some old book pages here. And I want to try to be a little strategic about covering up some of these places that have a bit more paint on them. I don't think I want that much. But that covers up that whole corner where there's quite a bit of paint. That's kind of good there, I think. Let's see. That might work. That covers up a fair bit of it, I guess. And I can cover up the rest, I think. I don't know, that purple's pretty bright. I might just put that there for safety. Okay. How am I gonna put this down? I think a glue stick will work. So for a palette today, I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I've got some white gesso and I have this Key West acrylic craft paint from Apple Barrel Paints. And I'm going to start with the gesso and I'm going to work really hard not to cover up all of the craft paper. But I don't really trust myself. I'm famous for covering it all, but I do want to get coverage over these bits of paint that are already on the page. It's nerve-wracking doing a cover because you want your cover to look really good, and it's kind of scary. I'm curious to know if you do your covers at the beginning before you start your journal, or if you wait till the end. I tend to wait until the end because I'm so messy and I get paint and everything on the cover if I do it at the beginning of the journal and then work in the journal. Oh, there's big chunks of paint there. All right, I'm going to take this Key West, but I think I want to lighten it a tad. I'm just thinking the daisies will look, there's a bunch of chunks in this gesso. I'm getting down to the bottom of the barrel. Anyway, so I'm thinking of these daisies sort of against a blue summer sky. It's wishful thinking on my part because it's raining here and it's going to rain and rain and rain all through, I think, the 4th of July. So that's not going to be a pleasant holiday. And so many people come to Maine for the 4th and the summer. And for the people that came in June, I feel so bad because the weather has just been awful. With rain, and we're gonna have a whole week of it. There's gonna be flooding and blah blah blah. So honeycomb stamp, which I feel like I just used recently. I love this stamp. I think it gives such a nice effect. And I love doing tone on tone. So this is some archival ink, acid-free, permanent, waterproof, and the color is called Garden Patina. And I really do like putting kind of a tone on tone stamp effect. I think it has a really nice, and I like the idea of the honeycomb and the bees, and you know, the idea of nature and my daisies and my garden. I like that. Looks cool going over the spine. I can do a little bit more of that there. Yeah. I like that. Okay. And then another favorite stamp of mine is this Tim Holtz handwriting stamp. It's some sort of legal document from the 1900s, or 1800s probably. And I'm going to do that in black. It didn't really show up, but that's all right. I think it's fun to change the direction of the handwriting. Doesn't all need to go one way. There, now I'm gonna do some sprinkles, I think, in black. I think that might look cool. So I've got just some black acrylic ink, or paint rather. I'm gonna add water to it to get it nice and liquidy. And I'm gonna have to dry that before I do the other side. Okay, let's take a look at this with our flowers and see how we like it. So the question is whether to use just the white that pops nicely, or to mix it in with some of these. I love this one, it's kind of wonky. I kind of think I like that. Okay, I'm gonna glue these down. I'm gonna use my art glitter glue. I was gonna put stems on them, but I don't know if I will. No, I'll think about that. So I was debating about whether I wanted to put stems in. So I just penciled some in to see how I liked it. And I think I like it okay. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and add some stems. And I'm kind of thinking I want to maybe put a few leaves in. Okay, so I have a couple options for leaves. I've got some leaves that I cut out of book pages, which I think looks cool. Or I have these green ones, which just kind of add a nice zing of color to the page. Okay, so this is pretty chunky, so I'm gonna make a little closure to kind of squish it together a little more. And I've got my crocodile here and some eyelets, I think they're called. And I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I'm not gonna measure, I'm just gonna eyeball it. Put that one in. And then, oh, I think I go this way. Yeah. Okay. And then I've got this netting, and I'm hoping this is going to work because it's cool. So I think if I tie a knot in this at the end, it's going to have to be more than one, huh? I don't think that's going to work. Let's see. Let's do this one. There we go. Doesn't close it too much, but it's pretty. And for the final touch, I have a sentiment from Tim Holtz's Ideology Small Talk. Collect beautiful moments. I'm feeling it here. And there you have it. I'm very happy with how that turned out. I love it. That's it for me. When I come back, I will do a flip through for you. Until then, you can find me on Instagram at eb_mixedmedia. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of the day. Bye.